Hello, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Let's go ahead and get Instagram set up over here so that we can get started with our lesson for the day. Hello, Instagram. Now, for those of you that are going to be listening to the replay, remember you can watch it or listen to it on Instagram. You can also listen to it on your favorite platform. Hey, Claire, if you like Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube better, and I also put all of these replays on my podcast. So you can also listen to them there if that is your more preferred form of listening to your content, especially for those of you that like to listen to stuff like that for the morning commute. Thank you, Claire. So, for those of you that are new, hey, Brett, we are going to be talking about the Mastery of Love. We do a book study every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And what we're currently studying is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. We are currently, if you have the version that I have, the paperback version, we are on page 64. And what we've been discussing thus far is the difference between real love and fake love, and how to know spot that in our own relationships, not only with other people and not only in your intimate relationships, but with your relationship with yourself or people that you are close with. So we are going to continue to leave off from that spot that we started on yesterday. And the name of the chapter is called The Track of Love and the Track of Fear. Again, I picked this book because for those of us that are struggling in relationships with ourselves or relationships with other people, again, this can be relationships with sons, daughters, brothers, mothers. It doesn't just have to be your intimate relationship. Most of the time, the reason why we are struggling in these areas is because we haven't been taught to live life from our power place, and therefore we approach our relationships with these expectations and rules and trauma, and then we marry up or meet up with somebody that also has their own set of idiosyncrasies, which causes issues. And so in order for you to identify why these things happen, I feel like this is a good book, and it's also a good book to help you gain some perspective and awareness so that you can transcend these things in your own relationships. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And so he says, in the track of fear, because remember, we're leaving off talking about the difference between fake love and real love, the difference between love and what we mistake for love. So in the track of fear, we have so many conditions, expectations, and obligations that we create a lot of rules just to protect ourselves against emotional pain, when the truth is that there shouldn't be any rules. If you are truly coming from a place of love and a place of kindness, and you're willing to extend that to the people that you interact with in your life, then there shouldn't be any rules. These rules impact the quality of the channels of communication between us, because when we are afraid, we lie, he said. But I would say afraid, I would say angry, I would say hurts, I would say conditioned. When we have all of these things impacting the way that we think and the way that we feel and how we show up as ourselves in relation to other people, these are my own words, then we end up impacting the quality of the relationships. And he said, we lie. We lie because the only true version of yourself is when you are living from that power place. And anytime you're approaching a relationship and you're not standing in your power, and that means the power of your thoughts, the power of your emotion, the energy that you're emitting, then you're not approaching life and love from a true place of authenticity. And a lot of people think that authenticity is keeping it real, or maybe you being blunt, or maybe lacking the tact you need to be able to not lacking tact. Yeah, lacking tact. So you kind of just say things that you need to say off the cuff, when those things are usually tied to, again, your own feelings and your emotions surrounding something. I did a podcast on how you could recognize your authentic self. So if you haven't listened to that, you may want to go back and listen to it. But the authentic self is you when you strip away the ego, the feelings, the thoughts, all the things that you think are yourself, and you really truly get in touch with who you truly are, which is a soul, which is a being, and approaching life from that space. Anything less than that means that your relationships are, to put it bluntly, a lie, right? And that's why we have so much struggle and strife when we're trying to interact with other people in relationships. He says, if you have the expectation that I have to be a certain way, then I feel the obligation to be that way. And the truth is, I'm not what you want me to be. When I'm honest and I am what I am, you're already hurt, you're mad. And then I lie to you because I'm afraid of your judgment. I'm afraid you're going to blame me, find me guilty, or punish me. And every time you remember, you punish me again and again and again for the same mistake. And so, in this conversation that we're having today, I'm not going to talk about maybe the other person that you may be interacting with, but let's look at it from your perspective. So, in my words, I feel like what he's saying is that we get in these relationships with people. Again, it doesn't matter if it's your partner or anybody else, but we form these relationships with other people and they expect us to be a certain way, or we think that they expect us to be a certain way. And so we conform ourselves to the different people that we interact with on a regular basis. And because we feel obligated to conform to what we think this other person wants, we show up in a way being not who it is that we truly are. And eventually that unravels, right? We all know that when we first interact with people, and we'll talk about intimate relationships, we show up as our best self and we do conform and we do want people to love us and see us as an adequate partner. So a lot of the times we will mold and meld ourselves to be what we think that our partner wants us to be. But the soul and the authentic self will always want to come through. And so that facade that we show up with, it crumbles. And so things start off pretty good, right? But then as our true self and our hurts and our egos and all of these things that we need to work on to have a better relationship and have better love for ourselves, when all of these lessons and feelings and things start to show up, guess what? You start to see a little bit of the truth. And then when we see the truth, because it's not who we are, it's not who our partner thought that we are, then we start to play a blame game about why it's falling apart. We start to label, we start to judge, we start to punish each other, when in fact, we didn't really show up in the relationship being authentic, being real. And so the relationship never had a chance to flourish and survive when it comes to the actual true love that we were talking about yesterday. So then he says, in the track of love, there's justice. If you make a mistake, you only pay once for that mistake. And if you truly love yourself, you learn from that mistake. I'm going to pause here because how many of us, let's talk about ourselves first. We make mistakes in our own lives and we feel guilty and we punish ourselves for those mistakes over and over and over again because we lack the love for ourselves to be able to notice that, yes, maybe we did something that was suboptimal, but we love ourselves enough to be able to heal and give ourselves grace and move on. But now extend that to the people that you care about. Because I know, and maybe some of you have also had this issue where you have people in your life right now that are paying for mistakes that they made maybe a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that you are not extending the grace and forgiveness that you should if you truly loved this person. Then he says, in the track of fear, there is no justice. You make yourself pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. You make your partner or your friend pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. This creates a sense of injustice and it opens up many emotional wounds. And of course, you set yourself up to fail because think about it, is that really conducive to having these beautiful relationships, not only with yourself, but relationships with other people? Humans have drama for everything, even for something so simple and so little. And we see these dramas in normal relationships in hell because most couples are in a track of fear, even if they don't consciously know this. He says, in every relationship, there are two halves of that relationship. One half is you, and the other half is your son, your daughter, your father, your mother, your friends, your partner. Of those halves, you're only responsible for your half. You are not responsible for the other half. It doesn't matter how close you think that you are or how strongly you think that you love, there is no way that you can be responsible for what's inside another person's head. You can never know what that person feels, what that person believes, all the assumptions she makes. You don't know anything about that person. That's the truth. But what do? We try to be responsible for the other half. And this is why relationships are in hell and they're based on fear, drama, and the war of control. This is important because a lot of times we can also be guilty of losing ourselves in a relationship. And while we talked about the responsibility that we have for only showing up as our best selves, living life from that power place, we tend to think that when we merge with somebody, or like he said, if it's your father or your daughter, that everybody's going to be playing this role in this position. And for some of us, we think that we're so close to these people that we know them and we're one, and that's not true. And it starts to get you in a little bit of trouble because you make assumptions about the people in your life that are not necessarily true, and they're doing the same thing with you. However, the only thing that you can be responsible for is showing up as your authentic self, living in your truth, not making assumptions, because you know, if you were honest with yourself, that there's thoughts and there's feelings that you have internally that you don't express all the time or as authentically or as fully or as wholly to other people in your life. And so taking responsibility for other people, losing yourself is what I think he's also talking about in a relationship, is also a way to get you stuck. And I think I notice it a lot too with maybe women that I know that have been married and maybe have to separate or maybe should be separated, right? I think that women tend to think that they know their partner. And just like you have these assumptions, like he's saying, where you keep those things to yourself, your partner is doing the same thing. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to make sure that you're with somebody that is also trying to live life from that power place. And know that at any time we're all allowed to grow together and grow apart, and to not let, I don't know, these false and egoic senses of relationships get us tied down and in situations where they're not authentic or loving. He says, if we are in a war of control, it's because we have no respect. The truth is that we don't love. It is selfishness, not love, when we're trying to control things. It is just to have the little doses in our relationships and our connections that make us feel good. When we have no respect, there's a war of control because each person feels responsible for the other. And again, you can't control your partner in this conversation that we're having, but how are you trying to control your partner? How are you trying to control the outcome of the various relationships that you're in? And by you trying to control something that you truly have no control over, how are you communicating on a subconscious level that you just don't even respect the process? He says, I have to control you because I don't respect you. I have to be responsible for you because whatever happens to you is going to hurt me and I want to avoid pain. This is also maybe something to think about as a parent as well. There's some things where, children, your daughter, your son is going to have to be able to be responsible for themselves. You give them the information, you teach them the best that you can, but you can't be responsible for everything that happens in that child's life, especially as a child starts to progress and get older and go through different stages of development. But there's a lot of parents trying to take responsibility, and that manifests in different ways in different types of parenting. So that's also a way that you can look at this particular paragraph here in this book. Let's see. I have to be responsible for you because whatever happens to you is going to hurt me and I want to avoid pain. Then, if I see that you are not being responsible, I'm going to knock you all the time to try to make you be responsible, but responsible from my personal point of view. And it doesn't mean that I'm right. Let that sink in. You're going to try to make people be responsible or make them be the version that you want them to be, or make them think that the things that you think are important are what makes somebody responsible. But it's all from your perspective and from your point of view. It doesn't mean that you're right. This is what happens when we come from the track of fear. And, for parents, that might be fear that your child is going to get hurt, or fear that they're going to, I don't know, throw their life away. But it could, be different when you're talking about your partner. So think about this passage in the various different relationships that you have in your life in order to see where you need to kind of examine and check and adjust. He says, because there is no respect, I act as though you are not good enough or intelligent enough to see what is good or not good for you. I make the assumption that you are not strong enough to go into certain situations and take care of yourself. I have to take control and I have to say, let me do it for you, or don't do that. I have to try to suppress your half of the relationship and take control of the whole thing. And if I take control of the whole relationship, then where is your part? Where is your other person's part? Where's your son's part, your daughter's part, your husband, your partner, your mother? Where is their part if you're trying to take control of the whole relationship? Guess what? It doesn't work. With the other half, we can share, we can enjoy, we can create the most wonderful dream together. But the other half always has its own dreams and its own will, and we can never control that dream no matter how hard we try. Then we have a choice. We can create a conflict and a war of control, or we can become a playmate and a team player. Playmates and team players play together, but not against each other. Okay, and we'll end with this last paragraph here. If you have any questions about what we discussed so far, go ahead and start typing them in the comment box while I go through this last paragraph. So we're playmates and team players when you're in a real relationship where you do play together, but you don't play against each other. And he says, if you're playing tennis, you have a partner and you're a team, and you never go against each other, never. Even if you both play tennis differently, you have the same goal: to have fun together, to play together, to be playmates. If you have a partner that wants to control your game and she says, no, don't play like that, play like this, or no, you're doing it all wrong, you're not going to have any fun, right? It's not going to work. And eventually you won't want to play with that partner anymore. And instead of being a team, your partner wants to control how you play. And without the concept of a team, you're always going to have conflict. If you see your partnerships, your romance as a team, then everything will start to improve. In a relationship, as in a game, it's not about winning or losing. You are playing because you want to have fun together. So I'll leave us with that little tidbit until we meet again on Monday, same time, same place. We need to look at our relationships more as us being playmates. And even though we play differently, we have the same goal. So if you start to examine each relationship in your life and you're finding that there's some conflict going on, you have a lot of tidbits from yesterday and today to look at. And specifically tonight, I want you to think about if there's some tension or some resistance, or relationships that you have with yourself and other people aren't going the way that it should. Are you playing against yourself? Are you playing against your team member? Or are you allowing that space and respect to play things differently, or play differently, but still have the same goal in mind? Robert, you have a good weekend too. Thanks for showing up live. Before I go, I just wanted to let you know that if you like this lesson and you want to go deeper with more self coaching, monthly group coaching, and modules that are kind of help give you lessons that you can work on every month to take you from point A to point B, and just kind of help cultivate this personal mastery pathway for you so that you're always growing and becoming the best version of yourself, then check out the description box wherever you're watching this video. There's information about how you can join my exclusive personal mastery membership that is exclusively and only for women that want to be the best versions of themselves, living life to the fullest, living life from your power place, being able to let go of the trauma and the pain and the conditioning, and being able to do certain things like cultivate better relationships, call in more abundance, control your feelings and your thoughts, and just to be able to move forward and live life much more easily and powerfully. Check out the link in the description box. If there's any trouble seeing that, you can go to yashikasintuition.com/links, and there should be a button that says the personal mastery membership, and you can also go there to learn more information. Otherwise, I will see you Monday at the same time in the same place. Have a good weekend. Bye.